lives of people through serving on the City Council. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Leah Basile from Lake Forest, and then we'll go to a round of questions.
I'm Leah Basile, currently running for City Council in Lake Forest, and I'm listening to both of your stories, and I hear little parts of me in both of you guys, because I'm noticing a trend that all of us have gotten involved in politics because of a catalyst. There's always something that speaks to our hearts and gets us out there to do things that we never thought we could possibly do. For me, there were a couple of things. It started, I was like you, I wasn't really involved in politics, you know, I was just living my life, getting involved in the community, part of my church. I was on the worship team, met my husband in the band at church, and we had a family, and where we live in our HOA, we were very unhappy with how they were managing the money. We felt like they weren't doing it properly, our rates were going up, and we weren't very happy. So my husband pushed me, literally pushed me, and said, why don't you run for the HOA board? And I thought, well, okay, I'm not really interested, but I'll do it, sure. So he helped me write my statement, and I won. And 6 years later, I'm still doing it, and I turned my HOA from a budget deficit into a budget surplus, all by increasing amenities and improving services, but not spending any additional funds. So that takes me to how I got involved in Lake Forest politics. Because I represent 690 homes as president of my HOA, the city had decided to redesign a road in my community in Portola Hills called Saddleback Ranch Road. And this road had been redesigned in a manner that was completely unsafe for the residents. They designed center medians that were so wide that it forced cars all the way to the curbside. So if you were walking down the street and you held your arm out, a car would literally hit your hand. And this was a 40-mile-an-hour road. So parents were no longer able to walk their kids to school. They were afraid if their child fell into the street, there'd be no place for a car to go to avoid hitting a child. So it was actually affecting people's quality of life. They had to rethink how they were living their normal life. And I was getting a lot of requests from our residents, is there anything that we as a board can do? So I thought, okay, well, I'll go to the city council. That seems like the appropriate place to go to ask for help.
Mistake number one, yeah.
So I went with great hope that our city council would listen to us. And I attended the first meeting and expressed our concern and mobilized all of Portola Hills to come and help with the cause. They heard what we had to say, and Jim Gardner and Adam Nick were great. They understood and they wanted to do something. However, we have a council majority that was not interested in helping the residents of Portola Hills. So I continued to go to meeting after meeting asking for help over and over again. Meanwhile, I had my entire community mobilized. We were showing up at council meetings by the hundreds. We were writing letters to the city, begging and pleading, please, can you do something about this road? Time and again, the council majority was refusing to do anything, and I realized at that point I had to take drastic measures for the safety of the residents in my community. And so I issued recall papers for 3 of our city council members in our city. And it was miraculous because what I was told what could not be done happened overnight. That night they found it interesting enough to get it on the agenda. We were in focus groups 3 or 4 days later, and completely revised plans were approved at the next city council meeting. It was unfortunate that I had to take such drastic measures just to get the attention of our city council, who really should be caring about the residents first. And that's what got me involved. I had no intention of doing what I'm doing today, except that I realized that we need integrity in our government. We need the transparency. We need residents first. And if we have people representing us that really don't care much about us, then what good is it? I mean, we may as well live in a third world country. So I had been asked by many people, several of them are in this room, asking me to run for city council. And I truly didn't want to do it. I mean, I fought with myself over it because I understood that it would be a huge sacrifice. I was afraid, to tell you the truth, because I'm a woman, and it's very imposing because I'm a mama bear and I'm thinking of my children. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and knowing how dirty politics can get, that was my first concern. And so I wanted to protect my family first and foremost, but then I realized that bad things happen when good people do nothing. And so I set aside all of my fears and concerns and decided that I think that this community there's a greater purpose out there, and there needs to be someone that can lead a positive change for the city. So I've decided to be that person. I'm very excited about the opportunity to do this. Again, it is a great sacrifice because you don't realize going in what you're really faced with, what you have the challenges to do, and I'm glad I didn't really know in the beginning because it can be really imposing. I mean, you're thinking about making huge sacrifices, but as you take each step and you go forward and you realize the good things that you're doing, it kind of motivates you to do more and greater things. I'm looking forward to being that transparency in my government. I have that skill that you have of being able to cross bridges, cover people and let them be heard and let them communicate in a way that's actually effective. I think that I could bring that change to the city. I think it's really important because it is extremely contentious. So I feel like I'm you starting out 8 years further along, walking into a bad situation and being a mom and fixing it. I love fixing things. So anyway, that's where I am today, and I'm just so grateful for the community support, because if it wasn't for the community encouraging me to do this, I probably would not have done it. So thank you.